Hey everybody, I am live. Nice to see everybody there. Hey there, 9-inch colas. Crystal, hey, nice to see you. I'm going to be taking some calibration data for my observing run tonight. Being a professional astronomer, I've got to take good calibrations in order to get good science. So that's what I'm doing, but I'm going to be pretty quiet here. I'm just going to be working along. You can watch. Time is sort of precious. Still a little too bright. That's good. Still a little bright out, which is good. I'll scoot you in here a little bit. So I'm currently, hey there, Bob Dog. So I'm currently taking flat fields, but the sky is still a little too bright. Still a little too bright, which is good. You know, taking flats with the sky is always sort of a little bit of a race. So yeah. But I'm doing this now. The actual live stream is going to start about 2:30 UTC. I'll be back in the office, waiting for it to get actually dark. I've got some clouds to my south over here, which you can see. Got clouds to my south there, and there's the sunset, which I don't think you can see really well. Here, let me got a few clouds over there, no big deal. Yeah, I sometimes talk through these things, and I probably will a little bit here, but as I said, taking this first set of calibration data is sort of it's pretty important that I pay attention. So this is a Celestron Nexstar 8SE telescope, and I have an S-Big ST7E on the back of it, and yes, that is a parallel port. So it's slowly, you can sort of see, it's mostly saturated, it's mostly all white, but in the middle there it's getting darker and darker and darker, and I could point the telescope up so it actually sees a little darker part of the sky. I want to make sure that my screws are screwed in all the way. Now, the only thing that I've sort of changed in my entire setup is that I did put my focal reducer onto the CCD. So I've never used that before. So I really don't know what to expect with that. But I have to have all that with the calibration data. Otherwise the science data that I'm going to collect a little bit later is going to be complete crap. So I don't want that because I want good data. So this is slowly. So this CCD camera is also thermoelectrically cooled. So right now it's at negative 4.8 degrees Celsius. So it is frozen, frozen in there, you know, the chip itself. This, of course, isn't, but you may be able to hear the fan running. It's pushing out that warm air to keep the system cool. And slowly, slowly here, um, we're getting darker, frame by frame. I just sort of have to wait. I like to, if I can, I like to start early so I can catch the sky darkening. Now, this is just one of many, many ways to actually get calibration data, but this is sort of the poor man's way. It's called t-shirt flats, and I actually have two white t-shirts covering the front of the telescope right now. So it's all that the CCD camera is seeing is just a uniform, hopefully, uniform white background. And I'm using the sky to illuminate the t-shirt with some, you know, pretty spectrally uniform light. Now, it's still a little bit blue, but that's okay. That's all right. And as you can see, this weird looking shape here is getting larger and larger and larger as it gets darker and darker and darker. And it's definitely still pretty light out. I think sunset just happened a couple of minutes ago. I mean, you know, those high clouds that I was showing you before are still being lit up, but it looks like all the mountains around me. I'm looking north to Mount Graham, and it is now in shadow. So the sun has definitely set local time, but of course the high clouds are still being lit up, and it looks pretty good. I've got one thin high cloud up here that's hopefully going to vanish. I've got absolutely no wind, and I'm not going to have the moon for a little while. The kind of work that I'm doing, it doesn't really matter if there's moonlight or not at this point. So I really don't care if the moon is up or not. It doesn't really matter. So I'm gonna keep watching this thing. It's but I've got to collect my calibration data. Okay, so that's getting slowly bigger. I could move this telescope up a little bit more so it sees a little darker sky. You know, I mean, it's brightest over towards the sun and, of course, darkest over there. So the more I move it away from the sun, I can't really aim this thing too high of an angle because the camera will run into the telescope mount. But yeah, it's slowly getting so I'm taking 1 second exposures here, which is pretty much about as short of an exposure as I want to go. And it's slowly getting better. I really don't know what to expect with this focal reducer, but now I'm seeing just sort of a round dark spot illuminated by a bright. So I don't know. Okay, okay, it's still saturating, but I think we're in for it. So that cloud that was just up there a couple of minutes ago is now gone. So just sort of waiting for it to get dark enough so I can start taking flats. And it's pretty rapidly getting there. I've been told, and every time I do this, I say that I have to check this out, but I've been told that every minute of sunset, it gets darker by a factor of 2. So you can sort of see, kind of hard to see from there, but I think we're slowly getting unsaturated here. This is a 16-bit camera, so the data values go from 0 to 2 to the 16th minus 1, which is 65,535. And so I can look on here at my maximum data value, and it's still 65,535, so it's still saturating, but it's getting better. It's kind of a weird looking flat field. Pretty weird looking, but I'm still saturated. Okay, so now I've just come out of saturation, and wow, what a weird flat field. Huh. That's a pretty weird flat field. I don't know if I want to go with that or not. Focus should not matter, but I'm going to change focus and see if that makes any kind of difference. Because now I'm in a race. I'm racing the Earth. So I want to make sure that we're seeing, yeah, that's kind of weird looking. That's a little weird looking. I think if I want to do science data tonight, I'm going to have to rip that thing out of there, because that's not really acceptable. That's looking a little weird. Yeah, that's looking a little too weird. So, all right, excuse me while I rip this thing out of here. I'll let you watch the operation here. Screws are really tight because of my nice strong fingers. Okay, so I'm going to take the focal reducer out, put the camera back in, because I've got to take these flats now. If I don't take them now, I might as well not do anything at all tonight in terms of collecting data. So I've got to do it now. Make sure these screws are really tight because I don't want my camera to fall out. Okay. So now let's see what that flat field looks like. It should look more like what I'm expecting it to look like. If it does, then I'm going to go. That's what it's supposed to look like. Okay, it's really, really, really dark. So I'm going to point the scope more towards the light. So I think I lost a little bit of time waiting for that dude to do its thing. But we'll see here. We'll see what the data values are, and then I'll change them. And okay, I'm ready to rock and roll. Okay, yeah, these are really, really, really dark. So I'm going to have to increase the exposure time by a factor of maybe like 4 or 5. Yeah, okay. So So I'm going to increase this to a 5-second exposure and take a test image, see what the data value is, and then go. Because yeah, I'm running out of, as I said, I'm in a race, so I've got to take data fast. Okay, even that's a little much. So I'm going to go up to 7. I'll take 1 7-second exposure, and then I'm going to start flying here. Actually, this is the flying part. It's sort of a hurry up and wait. So my maximum value for that last exposure was 25,000. I want it to be about 40,000 if I can do it. That's 32. So I'm going to go even a little bit more. And I'm going to point the scope right down into the sunset. So let's go 9. Oh, it's a long exposure, but that's okay. Yeah, I think I lost a little bit of time messing with that focal reducer. I'm going to have to work on that a little bit. So I want about 40,000, and what am I going to get? If I'm 40,000, I'm going to go. Okay, I'm 38,000, so I'm going to go. I'm going to save that, and I'm going to take a series of 10 exposures at a 9-second exposure time. So here we go. So now I'm collecting my calibration data for tonight, and hopefully it'll be good enough. I'm going to take 10 exposures at 9 seconds, and then I'm going to increase the exposure time probably to 11 or 12 seconds. Yeah, because I'm down to 33,000 already. So by the time this series of 10 exposures is done, I'm going to be down probably close to 20,000 or so. I want to get about 30 flat field images. That's sort of an arbitrary choice, but the more data I have, the better. And while that's going, I'm going to make sure that these images are being saved, because I don't want any mistakes. Okay, they are being saved. I know that you can't see that on your little screen there. So yeah, I'm already down to 28,000, and I'm only on my 3rd exposure. So this is not going to be the most ideal set of flat fields, but it will be adequate. And you can sort of see that the flat field there, what the flat field does is it sort of does 2 things at the same time. It's a measurement of gain on the camera itself. It's also looking at the entire internal optical path. So what you're seeing on the screen there, those round things, those are actually out of focus pieces of dust. So it's always a little bit of embarrassing, I guess, to show people your flats, but because yeah, that just sort of shows that I've got a pretty dirty system. But this is extremely low level, right? This software is stretching this, so you know, this is looking at extremely low level kinds of things. It's just exaggerated because of the software displaying it. So yeah, it's a measurement of gain, and also a measurement of all the garbage in the path. So I'm up to exposure number 8, and I'm at 21,000. So yeah, it's getting a little low. I'm going to let this thing go And then I think, yeah, I'm going to point down even a little bit more once this set of 10 is done. I can point down a little bit more. So it's downloading flat number 9. Once I get the flats done, then I have to take a series of darks as well, and I'll talk about those too. This is just sort of a critical time, so I'm not going to explain much right now. I've gotta get this data. This data is more important than you. Sorry. Okay, yeah, and I'm down to the 10th exposure. I'm down to 16,000. So I'm going to point this a little lower, and I'm going to, well, I'm going to up that to 20 seconds. Wow. Okay, here we go. So 20-second exposures. That is really, really, really long for a flat. It's not going to matter, but I need to get as much signal as I possibly can. Ideally, I want to be about 2/3 of the way to the maximum. So ideally, I want to be about 45,000. And let's see what I'm going to be here. I'm probably going to be about 32. Yeah, so I'm at 32,000. So, yeah. This is definitely not the best set of flats that I've ever taken, but they will do. I can see Venus, I can see Jupiter, I can see Saturn, I can see Mars, all in the same sky over there. We can actually let's see if I can here. I'm going to turn you around. Whoop. So there's Venus. And there's Jupiter. See it there? There's Venus and Jupiter. Venus down here, Jupiter up here. Then Saturn's, where'd Saturn go? I saw it just a second ago. Saturn, where is Saturn? Saturn somewhere. Mars is over here. Come on, focus. So there's Mars. And Saturn, oh, there's Saturn. Yeah, it's really hard to see. It's a little faint still right there. So there's Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and Venus. So very cool. Nice, nice sunset. Looks like it's going to be pretty clear. I've still got these clouds down here, but I think they're moving sort of east. So hopefully it won't be a problem. So I'm down to 22,000 on exposure number 5. So yeah, this is definitely not ideal in any way. And actually what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to end it at 20 exposures. So definitely not an ideal situation, but it's adequate. It's adequate. So let me check the chat here. T-shirt trick. Yeah, T-shirt trick. Yeah, actually, flats, it doesn't matter what the focus is. Doesn't matter. but I'm going to have to investigate why my focal reducer was making such a weird um, image. But I will do that. I'll do that. Well, I'm not going to be able to do anything now because now that I've almost done with the calibration, well, with the flats, I can't move this. I can't take it back on or off, um, put it back on because that'll change things, right? I mean, I'm not going to be able to put it on exactly the same way it is now. There's just no way. I'd be able to get it close, but close isn't good enough for me. It's sort of bad enough that I have to deal with these less than ideal flats. So once I do these flats, I'm going to take darks at the same exposure time. So I'm going to do a series of probably 20-second darks and then 29-second darks. And then I will be done and I will go inside and do the live stream while it gets dark, because it's going to take about an hour or so for it to get dark. I'm going to be okay, so I'm exposing my last flat field. I'm going to be looking in the vicinity of NGC, I think it's 7243. It's over in Cygnus. I just need a field of a lot of stars and a variety of magnitudes. That's sort of what I need. Okay, so the 10th flat field is now complete. So now I can take my darks. So all I have to do is change one little thing there, and I'm going to take a series of 20 darks. So this will take a little bit of time. And we can make sure that I've got all my flats. And I do. I've got 20 flats there. And yeah, I mean, those will be adequate. Those will be adequate. All right, well, there really isn't much more to be done now. Oh, the darks are an offset. So all of this data sort of sits on a platform, and all that dark stuff is like electronic noise. It's heat. It's so all the data sits on top of this thing. So I take a dark, so I can actually subtract that off. And these darks are for the flats, because the flats are data 2 that sit on this offset. And so I have to subtract the dark off so I can just see the flats. And then the flats, as I said, are is actually a measurement of gain. So I've got a subtraction and a division that I do with the actual science data. With the science data, I'll be collecting the science data, and then I'll be collecting dark frames for each exposure time, which will probably be, I'll probably do 2-second exposures, and if things go as planned, I'm going to take about 1,000 exposures or so tonight. So I'll have like 2,000 seconds worth of data that I'll be able to stack. Get some nice signal to noise out of that. And then when I'm done taking my science data, if I'm still awake, which I should be, that's not actually going to be all that late. um, I'm gonna pull the camera off. I'll put the focal reducer back on, and I'll mess with that for a little bit too. But nothing, nothing shall interfere with the taking of the science data. So, okay, well, you know what? I think I'm gonna end this stream for now. I'm gonna be out here for, another 5 or 10 minutes or so, and then I'll start the regular um, live stream, the Astronomy Daily live stream inside, and that'll go. That'll probably be a little bit short, because, as I said, I've only got about an hour right now, and at least according to my clock, it is 2:17 UTC. So probably by uh, probably in another hour, it's going to be adequately dark, and I still have to do a star alignment, so I can track and point, and that'll take a few minutes. Um, so yeah, all right. I think I'm gonna exit these waters for now. So thanks for watching, and yeah, I will see you. Probably start the live stream. I don't know, 10 minutes or so. It's not gonna take, not really gonna take all that long. And of course, I'll just keep everything running out here. I got to keep the camera cool, and the PC has to continue to run and everything else. But no problem. So okay, I will see you. I'll see you all in a few minutes. Bye.